you. I have a fan club. Thank you. Hi, I'm Debra Birnbaum, Executive Editor of TV at Variety, and I am more than thrilled to welcome you to the This Is Us panel. But I can't promise you I'm going to get through this without crying. I don't know about you guys. I know. You know, every season there's one show that just sort of breaks out and makes you just think, like, this is what TV is missing. We've been missing a family drama. It's just, this is the one that just sort of stood out when I was looking at the stack of pilots, all due respect to everything else that's out there. But this one show, from the second I sat down and watched that pilot, and how about that ending? So it's my pleasure to introduce you to the cast. Let's bring them out. Starting with Milo Ventimiglia, he plays Jack.
I didn't think I was first, and I'm holding on to the I'm so sorry.
Mandy Moore. Mr. Sterling K. Brown. Chrissy Metz. The very dapper Chris Sullivan. And last and certainly not least, Ron Jones.
And not present, but in our hearts, Justin Hartley and Susan Kelechi Watson. Everybody.
Susan's on her way.
Oh, Susan's on her way. Great.
Way.
In our hearts, Justin Hartley.
Someone has to make the show.
Yes.
And of course, a shout out for the fabulous kids.
Yes. All 12 of them.
So let's start with the most important burning question. Who's the biggest crier on the set?
Crier?
Crier.
I mean, I can only go off of table reads because that's the only time we're all sort of together collectively, and I would say maybe you and I, Chrissy, right?
Definitely you and I.
Yeah, but also like
like
Sterling does the like close eyes and smile, and then he opens, and one tear falls.
One tear. Very cinematic.
Ron has the stoicism of a lion. Quiet, cool, ready to pounce. Sully.
I do all my crying in private.
Yeah.
I cry publicly. I
all cry.
cold dark of the
Me
night.
too.
So tell me about those table reads. Is that the first time you guys are all together seeing the scripts each week for the first time?
We have them and we don't have them. Like sometimes some of the more important episodes will be together, and other times I think we're so wrapped up in actual physical production that we don't get a chance to all be on the same page the same day to read. But they're exciting. You know, it's
And we'll pass each other too in hair and makeup. Like, did you read 108? You read
Exactly.
108, right?
Yeah.
That's like the hair and makeup trailers where it all goes down. Because they get the scripts before we do because they're the heads of their departments. So we're like, yo, have you read that yet? Can I take a look at it? And then Mama Mandy in 2016 has to be there for about 4 or 5 hours. So she's like, I'm going to read it, so I don't care. And then she's usually the first to be like, did you read it? I was like, no, Mandy, I haven't read it. She's like, it's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
So Mandy, it does seem like you get the worst of the hair and makeup. You've got to age. How many time periods have you been in at this point?
The time periods are not the problem or the issue. It's not even going through the hair and makeup at this point. It's the removal process. That's brutal. It makes my skin break out. It's just like, it's really arduous. But I mean, I am so grateful to be a part of the show. I thank my lucky stars every day, and the opportunity to have a part for all of us, really. It's just, it's so, it fires on every level. And to play this character from 27 to 66, it's such a gift. So I'm not complaining.
So let's start at the beginning. I want to hear from each of you. And Milo, why don't you start? Tell me about when you first heard about the script, your casting process, how you landed this part.
It was off cycle. It was October last year. And I had 2 heartbreaks on 2 other TV shows that kind of sent me into a summer of, I'm just going to enjoy being back home in LA. And I read this beautiful script that Dan Fogelman wrote. And I had a friend of Dan's was a friend of mine. And then a friend of John and Glenn, our directors, was a friend of mine. And so I had these connections, and when I spoke to those guys in the past about Dan, because I knew who he was and I was a fan of his writing, he was always a great guy. When I'd spoken to my friend about John and Glenn, they were always great guys. And I think that's a goal. You always want to work with people that are cool. And if they're not cool, you kind of go, oh man, this is good material, but this may be a difficult job. So I had that going into it, and I went in and I met and I read. And I think there were some people that were like, no, I'm not going to read. And it's like, no, man, go in and read. Go in and read. Do your job. And yeah, I know, act. And I went in and just had a great meeting and reading. And I think maybe I was very different than how other guys were playing it. And then got to the process where I'm going to hand off to you, and Mandy and I read together, and that was magic.
Yeah, I mean, I read the script. It was like the greatest pilot I'd ever read, and I loved Dan and John and Glenn, and auditioned and then waited a month and got the call that they wanted us to come in, or wanted a few people to come in, few girls to read with a few guys for Jack and Rebecca. And Milo was the only one I read with, and I remember
Was your only choice?
I went in knowing that, like, they said Milo is sort of their first choice. So I was like, maybe that's good that they're having me read with him and only him. I don't know. But I felt like it went really well, and we sort of instantly connected, and that's not always the case. And
No, so it's hard. You're playing husband and wife, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, nice to meet you, be husband and wife.
yeah, come nuzzle my neck and let's kiss in front of a room full of strangers.
You didn't have to show her your booty in the audition, did you?
That was day 1 of work.
Okay.
Yeah, day 1 of work.
What about you?
I had to show my booty. Wait a minute.
No.
That's one away.
It's the wrong
They said we were all showing our booties.
I
in
ain't showing my booty, Jack. No. So I was still working on the People versus OJ at the time. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think you may have won an Emmy for that, maybe.
Something like that. It was crazy.
Little goat statue.
But I was starting to try to figure out what the next gig was going to be, and nobody knew what season 2 of Crime Story was going to be, because it's just season after season. There's floating of Versace and there's floating of Katrina. And I was like, I don't know how many black people in this Versace joint. I got to get a job. So I got the script for This Is Us, then like Untitled, Dan Fogelman, also 36, like went through different iterations. I said, man, this is really exceptional writing, like exceptional writing. And my wife and I geeked out over Crazy Stupid Love, when we first watched it. So it was like, this is the guy who wrote that, sign me up. And I just worked with John and Glenn on Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And they were like, you should meet with this guy, Sterling Brown. And so I got a chance to go in and meet with Dan, and had a nice meeting. It was really cool. And I had the script for a while, and I came back a couple of weeks later to read. And I would be sitting on set at OJ, and I'd be like going over my lines for my audition, and Sarah would be looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to get a job, Jack. So when I went in for it, like I was ready. I was like, we got to do this, Jack, because on network television, this kind of writing doesn't always happen. And as an actor, I mean, I've been doing this for about 15, 16 years. I can count on one hand how many times I've read something that moved me like that. Like off the page, you're laughing out loud and crying. And you're like, oh, to get to do this would be a true joy. So the audition went well, and here I am. So yeah.
I sort of had an unconventional process. I went to the first audition after begging my agent for the appointment. I'm like, please, I want the audition. He's like, you're gonna get it. So I got one. And I mean, I did feel like the birds were birdier that day, right? The sky was bluer. I was like, felt like it was gonna be different. And I think it was. And then I was like, that was a terrible audition. And then I went to the callback, and the callback was with John and Glenn and Dan, and I'm like, oh, this room is really big. What happened here? And they're like, oh, can you get your purse? I'm like, my purse? All right. And they're like directing me in the callback. I'm like, oh, this is a good thing, right? Okay. So we had about a 45-minute callback, which doesn't really happen. Never happened in my life. So, and then we went to the testing process, and there were 5 guys who Justin Hartley obviously eventually booked as Kevin, and one guy looked like David Beckham. Thank God it wasn't him. That would be weird to be attracted to your brother. Not that Justin isn't a stud, he's just not my type. So, so we went through the process, and there was this really wonderful actress. It was between her and I, were the last girls to go, and she was like, this is yours. I'm like, she's trying to trip me up. She's trying to trip me up. What is she trying to say? I'm like, all right. And I'm like, you know what? It's whoever's meant to be. And she's like, you're right. So we ended up leaving. And then they were like, oh, just kidding. We're gonna have you test again. We can't choose between you and this amazing girl. What? I was like, please just let it be before Thanksgiving. So, can you imagine? I'd really be eating over my feelings.
Any of you thespians like the idea of like testing twice? Has anybody
They don't know. It's hard. It's emotional, but it's fine. So we ended up going to the second test, and it got to the place where I was like really calm, and I was like, whatever's meant to be is gonna happen. And the other girl who, Justin already had the job, so he was skipping away, and we're like, great, let's mic us and let's go. So it was a very quick scene. I thought it went terribly. And then we walked to the parking structure at Universal, and my phone rings, and I'm like, what is this number? I don't even know this. I'm not answering this number. I call my agent. I'm like, that was the most terrible audition I ever had. I don't want to act again. I don't know what I'm doing. And the phone rings again. I'm like, is it a bill collector? Because am I late in my car payment? What's going on? I think I might have been. So anyway, the number calls, and it's like breaking up because I'm in the parking structure, and I'm like, what? Hello? And all I heard is E, and I'm like, you called Chrissy, and the other girl's name ended with an E as well, and I'm like, it's Chrissy Metz. And they're like, we're calling you Chrissy Metz. Yes, that's who we're calling. And I'm like, oh, hi, Dan. And he's like, hey, we just want to let you know that you're our girl. And I nearly wrecked in the parking structure, but it was very exciting. That was my process. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
I was here in LA, and I got a call from my agents in New York who asked me to put myself on tape for this. And I said, well, I'm in LA at the moment. If they're seeing people, I could go in. And so I came in, and I met with Glenn and John and Dan later that afternoon, and Red, and that was it.
Oh, lucky guy.
And it went way quicker than I expected.
Well, it's because we tested 5 other guys for Toby, and they were like, we want one man. We have to see if he's available. I'm like, who is it?
Which is, I was so thankful for John and Glenn to be thinking outside of the box, because they were a fan of a show called The Nick, and on that I had a great
delicious beard.
I had a great big beard, and I read the script, and I was like, they're not going to put me in a suit. They're not going to put me in a fat suit. That won't play. So I'm like, why am I even reading for this? This is not going to work out. And it worked out. Thank God it worked out.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Oh, man, that's it.
What about you, Mr. Jones?
I had a very brief process too. I had been working on a show called Mr. Robot, and it was the first time in a long time that I had actually booked a job that recurred. I had been doing a lot of bit television stuff. My resume is filled with theater. And the audition was at Bernie Telsey Casting, who casts a lot of theater. I had been in his office so many times, so I was comfortable going in. I didn't have to fly out to LA and meet with producers at that time. They were putting me on tape. So I was totally prepared. I got the script, and the same as Chris, I was thinking, this script is too good. This role is too good. They're not going to hire me for this. You know, I don't look old enough, you know, but what I thought was, I'm just going to put the work in this. And this, I'm going to go into Bernie Tennessee, and I'm going to just lay it down. And that's exactly what I did.
Lay down, son. Lay down.
And it was interesting because I didn't know. I left Mr. Robot. I was killed off in the next season. And I was so distraught. I was like, God, finally I got a great character, and they kill him. And it's like, why are they doing this to me? And it was like, why me? Why me? That whole actor thing. It always happens to me, and I never get the role. And then the week later, this audition came up, and the next day, I didn't even have to come out to fly out to do a test or anything. The next day, they told me I had the role. And 2 days after that, I got this beautiful email from Dan saying that he wasn't in the room. He watched the tape, and he said, I knew you were my William as soon as I saw your tape. So it was a testament to being on stage and working with such incredible actors. I think that one of the biggest testaments to this show is the way they cast and such incredible actors that are on this gig, that are making the work happen so well. So that's kind of was my process getting here, and I'm extremely grateful as an actor to have this gig.
So once you've all done the hard work of then landing the part, the next challenge is, you know, embodying this part. Dan's scripts certainly put each of your characters through your paces. How do you as actors find your way into the characters? What have you learned through your acting careers that helps you, deliver on the roles that you've been challenged with and the scenes that you've been challenged with?
Can I not start?
Yes, you cannot start. Anyone want to jump in there? Chrissy, why don't you go in?
I think most of it is being present, always being present after you've done the work of what the backstory might be, or what triggers you in your process. And it's really about just being present in life. I believe that as well. And when you're present, you're authentic. And I think that for me is the most important thing.
Yeah. No, okay, this is kind of a long-winded answer. I'll try to make it as truncated as possible. When I was an undergrad, one of my favorite things to do was to be in an empty theater, right? Because there's a ghost light, and the ghost light's on, and I would like to stand in front of the light and watch my shadow be cast out over the audience, right? And I would say, for the next 2 hours, I'm gonna take care of these people. Like my arms would be out, and I'd be like, I'm gonna take care of these people. I'm gonna hopefully entertain them and educate them and edify them. I want them leaving feeling good and entertained and smarter, and that hopefully they'll feel like they'll be a better version of themselves or be inspired to make the world a better place, right? So being on stage, being on set, like Milo always talks about being on set is one of his favorite things, and it's one of mine too, because it's like church for me. It's like spiritual. And so to that extent, like being present and just witnessing what your fellow castmates are giving you and being open to being moved in whatever way that goes, is such a joy. Like, it's really, I can't explain it any other way, in that it's a spiritual experience. So just being reverential for me, it's like really just appreciating each moment. Because anytime you take yourself out of the moment, as a younger actor, I would have these things where I'd forget a line, and I would start the string of expletives, dadgummit, and feeling bad about not looking good or whatnot. But no, I just realized the one place that I want to be is in the moment, and I've just removed myself from the very place where I want to be. So if I just stay there, it usually tends to take care of itself.
Next question. No one's following that.
Actually, no.
was very poetic.
I won't follow, but I'll have like little. In addition to, is the idea that you're never going to get the opportunity again. It goes, and it goes very fast. Just this morning, Mandy and I were on set, remembering how many months ago? 5 months ago? 4 months ago?
Yeah.
4 months ago, I think, having a conversation saying at some point.
Yeah, we were walking through the empty shell of a set with the
Yeah.
writers,
Yeah.
And the set hadn't even been constructed yet. Just like a couple of the walls were up. And I snapped a few pictures, and I was looking through my pictures on the phone. I was like, God, do you remember that?
And I remember saying to Mandy, I
We're
said,
here
let's make sure that every moment is appreciated, because one, it'll go by so fast. It'll be November, we'll be halfway through the season, which we actually kind of recognize today. But also, you never get it back. So if you're not present and you're not appreciative, what are you there for? You know, you got to be there to do the work, to support your fellow artists, to have fun with your crew, because it never comes back. And even if it does, it may not come back the way that it is in this special moment with this group of people or with that crew or with these words. You just never get that opportunity again. And I don't say that out of fear. I say that out of pure appreciation for what it is that we all get to do as creative artists with the written word spoken by any of us.
Yeah.
In addition to.
It's interesting. It's also, for me, it's like playing a terminally ill character and trying to separate the actor from the character. The character is going through the process of trying to understand and accept the fact that his life is going to end. And then the actor separates, because then it's like, okay, well, if that happens, then that means that there's a part of me that's going to end, that part of my life that's going to end and have to start all over again. So each day for me is working through William as William in the moment, because that's exactly what he's going through. So if I get to work and I have that on my mind and I stay within that, it makes it sometimes a very depressing day, because I'm thinking about these terminally ill issues. So it becomes very difficult. I get emotional during the course of the day when I stop and think about William, and then I also think about myself and realize that life is not guaranteed, and you don't know what's going to happen when each day. You think you do, but I'm reminded every day that you don't. You don't really know what's going to happen the next day, so you try to live as full as you can each day. So the positive part about that is he reminds me to do that, but he also reminds me that there will be a day. And when that day is, you don't know. And even as the actor, I don't know when that day is. It's not scripted. So is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? And that's what I'm carrying every day also. You know? Susan.
Hey, Sue! Let's welcome Susan Watson to the stage. Hi.
My wife.
Hey, Sue.
That is your wife.
What's
You missed
going
some
on?
good
Hi,
stuff.
Sue.
Like deep. Like we went to church
We were
with
just
Sterling.
we were just answering
Hallelujah.
the question of what we sort of do to prepare for these scripts and these characters, and what you sort of bring to the table and how you prepare, I guess.
I don't prepare at all. I barely
Improv.
read the scripts. Yeah. How do I prepare? My gosh. I feel like more and more happens every week as we learn more about the characters. And you know what I find really interesting, because I'm sure they said everything that I would say, but when you actually begin to interact with everyone else, it brings out even more of your character, and everybody else is so thorough and does all of their homework and comes so full all the time, you guys really do, that it really drops you in the center of your character a lot of times. So when you work like that, it a lot of times some of the work is done for you, you know? So just being, sometimes allowing your preparation to meet what is just happening in the moment will further propel you into knowing your character even more, you know? Mandy and I had a scene the other day, and we were like, gosh, this just feels so uncomfortable. Do you remember this? And
yes.
we just kept trying to figure out why it felt uncomfortable, and then we sort of conceded, like, I think it's uncomfortable because what's happening is uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And we just, it was really uncomfortable. And every time I read that scene, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to tell her this. This is uncomfortable. But the news I was telling her was just that. And so we got in the scene and we felt icky about it, and we just had to say, well, maybe that's right, you know?
And trust that they wouldn't have moved on if we didn't get
Right.
it. That's how I always feel. I'm like, okay, is it all right?
Yeah.
Good one, Sue. Good one.
Thanks, darling. Thanks,
You got
Esky.
it. You got it.
Given that you often don't get the chance to see each other, I'd like to offer you the chance to compliment each other. So turn to someone else on the stage and say one scene that you've liked about each other's work.
I'll go. Because this is, watching this television show every week is an education for me. I can, and it's a testament to the writers and the editors and the people who put this TV show together. There was a monologue that Mandy gave about the type of parent she wanted to be and the type of parent.
Episode 2.
You know the monologue.
Episode 2.
And I don't even know. When I saw that screened for us for the first time, the creators of the show, the producers and the editors did something that is very rarely done on television. They didn't cut away from Mandy. And that is because Mandy gave them no other choice. Because that performance is stunning. And when you watch it, you go, yeah, you don't cut away. You don't cut away. You do not cut away from that performance. And I turned around and I looked at Dan, who was standing behind me, and I was just like, yeah. And he was like, standing behind me. And that's just one of the performances that just, yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
I want to quick piggyback on that because what's happening is that most of the times I think producers don't realize that the audience is attentive enough to watch a whole monologue. And you watch certain television shows and they're constantly cutting. There's this editing going on where it's face and then back to this face and back to that face and back. But they're letting the monologues happen. They're letting you into the character's face, into their eyes, into their lips. You actually get a chance to stay on the character, and that's a testament to the editing that they're doing also, and them trusting that the audience is smart enough to sit and watch a whole monologue without having to cut attention span. So that's one of the beauties of the back stuff that's going on too.
I mean, I am in awe of everyone. I know this sounds so like cheesy because we're all sitting here, but I am literally in awe of every person that's on the show. There's not an episode that goes by that I don't want to reach out to everyone. Every time I see you guys, it blows me away. I think collectively it makes everybody sort of step up and raise their game. The one scene recently that sort of comes to mind, and he's not here, but that beautiful monologue that Justin delivers at the end of the 5th episode, sort of the summation of what our show is really about, what life is about, to me is just like, I mean, I was speechless. I went and just saw like a tiny fraction of some of that being filmed, and I was in awe. I was bawling at the table read, and just watching the episode in, sort of its finished iteration, it's incredible. And I feel like I want to acknowledge him, even though he's not here, because it just was mind-blowing.
I want to shout out my TV wife. Thank you. Episode 102, when she's talking to William, and she's like telling him like about her man. I was like, that's my woman. You talk about somebody having your back and your front, like I'm protected. And it was really just awesome to see the way that they write for us, and the nature and the depth and the strength of their relationship is such a joy to play out week in and week out. So big up, Sue. Big up.
Thank you, Boo.
I'm just gonna add, his monologue that he just gave in this episode you guys just watched, Talani. It's so gorgeous. It's so beautiful, and I feel so lucky to get to work with you every day. It's so easy. It's so much fun, but there are certain parts of the job that you don't get to see, and scenes that you're not in, and just watching that episode.
I had to, okay, real quick. I know you're supposed to just do one real quick.
But I knew I was going to lose control. It's fine.
No, listen. for Chrissy and Justin and myself, it's a really sort of interesting experience, like having Milo and Mandy as parents. But I really do relate to them that way because I see the way that Jack and Rebecca, I see the sacrifices that they made to allow us to be where we are in life. There's the scene when you went to go find William and Jack was sitting on the floor waiting for you. He's like, I thought you'd left. He's like, I didn't know what I was gonna do. And you guys are like, just trying to figure it out, that you brought this baby into your lives, and like, real talk, you didn't bond immediately, right? But you guys like stuck it out, like you fought through it. Like, when I see that, I'm like, oh, Randall, man, you had these parents, like and when I see it, I was like, this mom and dad, right? It is so crazy. So like, I thank you guys for raising me so well.
Well, it's also, and it does feed the other way. You know, I know every time we have a scene with the kids, or I personally have a scene with the kids, I'm thinking about Sterling, I'm thinking about Chrissy, I'm thinking about Justin, you know, and understanding that the lessons that these kids have to learn turn them into, God bless you, Chris, the lovely folks that they are at the age that they are when we meet them. And so it's always, it feeds both ways, you know, and it's also, you know, not only do you have to show these kids humility, you've got to give them strength. Like, I think about that a lot with the kids. It's like, I'm dad. I'm not around anymore. But not even knowing that.
What happened to you?
We'll get into that. Not even knowing that, though, it's like there's so many lessons that you have to give these kids. You got to give them your whole heart, and it's across the board. I want to kick back to Sully really quick. I know there's, like, you know, the heavy moments are the impactful moments. But, dude, to keep things as light as you do and fun and exciting as you do, and Chrissy, like, you're balanced back with him. Like, there's something that's really special about that. It's really special
when
about
they
that.
went to the home,
oh, dude, by the way, wait. You guys don't even, sorry. No. By the way, you guys don't even know. That was a rehearsal when she was singing. She didn't know the cameras were rolling.
Everybody. Okay, everybody.
As Sterling does. She didn't know.
I gotta go, guys.
So you talk about being present, being
Right.
real in that moment. It's like you're not there performing thinking there's a little red marker saying, hey, we're you know, clocking megabytes right now, gigabyte, whatever, rolling film.
Bytes.
You're just in the moment of, oh, let me experience this. I don't know, it's really beautiful. I'm with Mandy. I'm blown away every day by this entire cast and our extended cast as well.
I'm going to go quickly down the line. So, Milo, the moment where you were with Chrissy, young Chrissy by the pool, putting the shirt on her, crazy. Mandy, episode 2 monologue, crazy. Sterling, singing. Oh my God!
And corn.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy. But the open
come on, everyone.
The open O vowel.
She's
on
holding a
corn.
microphone. I'm just saying.
The open O vowel on you should know the price of corn. Crazy.
So buy yourself a contract.
How did you ever get the melody to that? I was trying to find the melody in there, Sterling. I'm like, there is no melody.
This is us cast album.
Chrissy, episode, I'm just going to say episode 1, just period.
Yeah.
Just blowing up the spot. Sully, just too many. I mean, but I will say when you were in the bed and Chrissy was giving you breakfast, and the way you were describing all the breakfast, and all, that's just one of many, but I'll put it out there. Ron, it's difficult because there's so many, but yeah, there just is. But I think the episode where you left the house and then Sterling was kind of chasing after you to come back and you said, damn, no wonder I left you at a fire station, something like that, you know what I mean? But that whole episode, and then when you asked us the question, that was just a lovely moment.
Thank you, I tried.
So I think I got everybody.
I'm here for you, people. And last night when I was watching the episode and bawling, I thought that was my best performance ever.
Well
Thank you. Thank you.
Was Hey White People an improvisation?
Which one?
Oh, when you said,
white people.
hey, white people.
Yeah, that was him.
Love it.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue to my next question. I mean, as much as, you know, the show just taps into all these emotions, you're actually tackling some pretty powerful issues. You're talking about race, you're talking about weight. You know, it's really a credit to Dan Fogelman and his scripts. Yeah. I mean, how do you guys even approach getting into those issues and, you know, dealing with all of it?
They do a lot of it in the writer's room. Like, it's really cool writer's room to go and visit.
You get to spend time there?
If you want to, like, just voluntarily. Like, they'll be in the middle of writing, and you'll just walk in, and they'll be like, hey, and then you're like, no, you guys just keep doing your thing. I just like to listen to see how the whole thing unfolds. And then there's a whole timeline, a Pearson family timeline, that's sort of important for us to know in 2016 what happened in the past so that we understand what our history is. So you can go and, like, look at that and be like, oh, yeah, that's right. And it's, like, written up all across the room.
So what's on the wall?
Can't tell you.
A lot of stuff.
I can tell you up through episode 6.
Jack's hiding in Cuba.
Chris.
Looking like a cartel member.
Knew he was gonna.
But they
To the
handle
mustache, believe me.
they handle it with such intelligence or whatnot. Like the episode 4, when William got stopped by the security guard, and we went walking out and bought the clothes and everything, and it was also Randall dealing with, like, his own sort of issues of identity of, like, am I black enough? Like, did I do enough? Do I do enough to support, you know, the cause of African Americans and whatnot? And so he had to wrestle with that whole thing, and it was just a very interesting take. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll hit something, but they'll hit it from, like, from the side or whatnot. The writers do the majority of it, and every once in a while, if we have an idea or thought, they're completely open to taking that thought and running with it.
Even so, you had a thought when we did the pool episode where we're at the pool and Mandy and I are dealing with all of our kids. You know, we have young Randall that wants to go to a side of the pool where he sees people that he can identify with but hasn't been exposed to because, you know, he's the only African-American kid at a pretty white school. And then, you know, Kate seeing the impact of you know, these bullies that don't want to be around her when she's just stoked on her Care Bear bikini. But
That thing was so cute.
she's so cute, Mackenzie. But, you know, Sterling, you were talking about there was the thing with the razor bumps, but you were like, nah, man, lotion, be ashy.
Yeah, like when I...
We all know how Stowe gets ready in the morning and night.
I got to moisturize. My wife and I will see, like, these really wonderful families, white families that adopt a young black child, and they'll just be ashy. And you guys don't know what I'm talking about, but the black folks know what I'm talking about. It's like, please put some lotion on your child because it's not a good look. That's all. Yeah, I added that.
Talk about your wife. She's in the show as well.
My wife is in the show.
Ryan is on the show.
Ryan plays Yvette, who befriends the Pearsons back in the day. And
Sterling's wife.
That's my wife.
In real life.
Yeah.
2 beautiful
Thank
babies.
you.
She's a knockout talented actress and the coolest human being on the
Yeah,
planet.
it's really cool because we haven't had any scenes together.
Kind
up to
of.
now.
I mean, in a way, you know, there's
Yeah,
young you
Randall
looking up
has-
to.
exactly.
Yeah.
But no, she's wonderful. My wife and I, we've been acting together since we first met. We did our first play in undergrad together. We went to grad school together at NYU. So to get a chance to work with her, even maybe not at the same time, but to be on the same show, it's pretty cool. So special. Yeah.
I think a lot of the through line in the show is dealing with our inadequacies, and whether it's about race or weight or age, or dealing with a terminal illness, you know, something that we're like, oh, we're not strong enough, we're not thin enough, we're not smart enough, we're discriminated against in some capacity. And I think everyone in the world can feel that and understands that. And it's so crazy because we all want the same thing, right? So it's like, why are we hurting each other? But hurt people. So it's really emotional in every level. And I think that's, for me, why people relate to it so deeply.
Especially now with everything that's going on in our political climate and socio-political, and also with the writing, it kind of puts it in your lap. It puts it in the audience's lap. It doesn't point fingers, and it doesn't make you feel bad about you, but it makes you think about you, and it makes you think about your situation, it kind of makes you just kind of look next to you while you're watching it to see who's there and how you feel about that person. And that's what I love about it. It brings the issues to fore, but in a human way, without trying to knock it over your head or make you believe something, but it puts it in your lap and says, what do you do when you're in this situation? Or how does this reflect your life? Is there someone in your life like this? And how do you look at them and deal with them? And so, and we all have that. And that's why when I watch it, I feel the same way as you do. You know, it swept me up too. And it's an incredible thing to feel that way, because it's thought-provoking, but it lets you feel. And you can share it or you can keep it to yourself, you know, so.
Were you surprised by how audiences responded to the show and how much they've reacted to the show? I know a bunch of you on social media and really engaging with people.
I'm so surprised. I mean, not surprised, because I felt like it's well written. You know, I gathered with this cast and I understood how special that they are, but you don't know until you know. You know, you just don't know. And when I work, and I think there's a few of us that would agree with me, when I work in a bit of a bubble, you know. I'm just trying to do the best I can for this particular character at this time in the circumstances that they're in. And so that becomes the focus, and you get a bit wrapped in it. And then you give it out. It's your gift to give to people, and you hope people open it and like it, you know. But I don't know that I thought it through enough to think what the response would be. But the generosity of you guys as an audience has been really overwhelming. Not only have you watched, you know, you've reached out and you've said just some of the tweets I'd really walk around with on a chain if I could. You know what I mean? I might
Christmas
blink,
is coming.
I might blink. You know, like some of the responses are just, I mean, so moving. You know what I mean? And so I don't think that far, and I think maybe in some ways it's a good thing. Some ways it keeps me a little bit in the bubble. But I was surprised, not because of the quality of what we were doing, but I just didn't, you know, I just wanted to do that thing that I love to do. And then this came with it. And it's a blessing. It really is.
I feel like I'm surprised by the depth of it. Like my sister I was talking to earlier this morning, and she always calls me little bro. She's like, hey, little bro, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm fine, Angela, how are you? And she said, yo, watch the show, man. You guys are like trying to elevate television. She said, it's like therapy, Sterling. You know, and I was like, thanks, Ange. And she was talking about 105, and we're from St. Louis, strong Christian family. She's like, I know it's not Christian exactly, but like, it was almost like biblical when he was talking about that painting. And I was like, that's it, that's what it's about, you know? It's like, so the excitement, like it just, friends of mine who don't like throw around the word love will call me at 10:01 and be like, hey man, just really proud of you, love you, keep doing your thing. Because they just finished watching the show and their heart's just that open that they can't help but say that. You know what I mean? That's the biggest surprise. Yeah.
Is there someone you haven't had a scene with yet that you want to have a scene with?
Yeah.
Pitch it now. You've got executives in the room. Go.
Everybody that I haven't had a scene with, I want to do a
Right,
scene with.
right.
I'm with you.
Gosh, Milo, man.
Yeah, no,
I'd
man.
love to do a scene with Milo.
I mean, look, all you
We
need
can
to
do
do
time
now,
travel
all you need
here.
to do now is just pass an urn around, and I'm there.
I was gonna say, I sort of had one with you, Mai, but
No.
not in the way I wanted. But
Yeah.
You upset people when you said that.
Yeah, it is upsetting.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be, but that's the
You were
blessing
great in
when
that
you're in
scene.
the afterlife. Yeah, thank you. Thank
You were
Sully.
great in that scene. I don't know what they're
That's
saying
present.
about. That was-
Like, you know, and I know it is a mystery of when Jack became the departed, you know, and the idea of, I mean, we've seen Mandy, we've seen Rebecca with the kids, but you haven't seen Jack with the adult kids. I'm just gonna shut up.
I'm gonna let you keep talking yourself.
I know, keep talking.
Cut his mic.
And then
Cut
there's
his mic
Miguel.
And then there's Miguel, who we love.
John Huertas, who's great.
It's great.
America's hated.
John is
He's the
awesome.
most
Nobody likes
lovely
Miguel.
guy.
nobody likes Miguel. Well, to
Poor
be
Miguel.
fair, guys, all I can think about is my dad. Like, and I'm like, who is this guy?
No one's gonna like Miguel till we figure out what happened to Jack.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough.
I'll get text messages when they're all on set from Justin, and I feel like I'm gonna single him out just because he's not
He
here.
loves doing
And
this.
it'll be a video of him looking at himself, sending it to me, looking at me, and he'll just be like, "You see this shit?" And he'll just pan it over to poor John, who's just having a conversation.
Poor John.
With you, sitting there, and then he's like, "Can't fucking believe it."
He really takes it far.
We're not over it
Yeah,
yet. It's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We're with all
I think
of you.
Kevin and Jack had a great relationship. I think Kevin and Kate did. You know, Jack tries real hard with Randall. Yeah. I mean,
There will be future questions to be answered because,
Yes.
like, even when I'm on set, I'll go up to Mandy and John, and I'll be like, "So where's your wife? Like the one that you were married to?
We're like, I don't know.
Like, did she die, or did you just do something dirty? Like, I want to know."
She's in Cuba with Jack.
There you go.
Hey-o.
How
That's
does
the crazy thing
questions?
about the show is, as Sterling alluded to, you go in the writer's room and there's this like sort of timeline of the family's trajectory and all of these sort of milestone moments. But there are lots of gaps in between those moments. So we anxiously await the scripts because, you know, we'll pester Dan every time we see him, like, tell us more, like what happens?
or if you're lucky enough to get like one of the like younger writers on set at lunch on location,
Yes.
you're like, no, you're not going back for seconds.
Come sit with me.
So what happens in 17? What happens in 16?
But you try to fill in these gaps, but we still don't know. There's these like glaring question marks. So you know, we all try and do our due diligence, and you know, as Susan was saying, like we like ask each other questions about our relationships because there are. I think that was the most overwhelming thing of taking on a project like this and a part like this, especially for us because we are jumping around in time. It's like I really sort of had to just take a deep breath and go, I can't know all of the answers right now, and I just sort of have to take it episode by episode and do the best I can at sort of answering the most pertinent information that I need for different scenes. But it's it's pretty fun, and it's fun to like spring information like, oh, you know what happens in 115?
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. You know, every day for me it's like that. It's like, am I still here? 111? Am I still here? I'm still here. Oh boy, thank you. No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Every call sheet's a blessing.
Amen.
All right, I want to get to some of your questions. This one is from Taylor Blackwell. How did you guys build such great on-screen family chemistry?
Well, I was gonna say I don't know how if there's a formula for it other than kind of what Sterling said. It's like you have to be open to it. You have to like open your heart to it. You know, I know that Mandy and I, like I said to her, I said, from action to cut, you're my wife. Let's just act accordingly. But I think it's the idea that you are open to the experience of being a family, and you know that comes with so much love and equal parts sometimes like hate or resentment or anger or humility or support. There's just so much to it, but I think the idea of being open to the experience of having close bonds and being real, making these characters alive in the family, in the Pearsons.
They're good people up here.
Great
That makes
people.
That's what I was going to
super
say.
easy.
Yeah, that makes
Just
it.
lovely human beings. That's all you need. We lucked out.
I get the sense of trust, I think. I know that I feel that way when I work with Sterling all the time. I trust him, you know, and I feel like he trusts me, you know. And then I feel that with Ron, and then I feel that down the line. I sit in the room and I sit in the scene with somebody, and I'm like, oh, they trust that I know what I'm doing. And they're going to follow where I go. I'm going to follow where they go. If they want to go there, I'll go there. If they want to go here, you know, and we'll do some things together. But there's a deep sense of trust to me that allows things to fly, you know?
I think, was I going to interrupt you? For Chris, I think Chris trusts me when I don't trust myself. And I'm so grateful for.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, see?
Is that I feel taken care of by you. Like
I
you
feel
get
taken care of by
you show up, you do the work, and if you feel taken care of, then you are free to take risks and to be vulnerable and to all that. all that good stuff.
Love you.
Room.
There's a lot of communication, like even when we're on set together, we have like different threads of texts going back and forth or whatnot, because we enjoy each other and because we are a family telling a family story. I think like unconsciously we recognize the need for it. We enjoy each other's company. Like you can't fake chemistry. Like you have to take a relationship, an authentic relationship, off camera and bring it in front of the camera. And because the nature of the material is such that you have to open your heart if you want other people to open theirs as well. And thank God that these are all very wonderful people. Like it became family pretty quickly. And that happens sometimes when you're on location, right? Because you don't have like anybody else around to go back to your house or what have you. But we're here in Los Angeles, and it's like I got Mandy Moore's phone number. Like
Me
crazy,
too.
you know what I'm saying? Like I ain't give her a call anytime I want to. We family.
That's your mother.
That's my mama. That's my mama. I wouldn't be calling her anything else just to talk. Like, hey, what's up? You singing something late? I just want to know.
Hashtag you up.
You know, but we really enjoy each other, and I think that it just happened. Like we had a cast dinner the other day that Ron couldn't make it to, so he was missed. But we just kikied and laughed it up and just chucked, and it was so much fun. So I think that authentic enjoyment of each other really, really helps.
Yeah. Well, that came across very much. So thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.